Welcome to the Battlefield Show. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by Sammy Boy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing fantastic, and my golly goodness, do we have an action-packed episode today. We're going over the patch notes for the next update, 3.2.0, which has class system. It has the map rework and a ton of new vault weapons and changes to basically everything. So, let's jump right in. Dude, we were right. We called it last week or the week before, and they're doing it. Those maniacs are doing it. They're releasing this update, quote, late January, and it's literally the last day of the month that they're doing it.
The definition of late.
Yes.
I hope they drop it. I kind of hope for the meme they drop it at 11:59 p.m. as well.
I mean, they've got it so far this way that it would make sense, or at least like their time do it that.
Yeah.
Those guys. But hey, they're doing something cool here, which I really like, and they pointed out in this is they want every single following patch notes to drop a week before the update, which I am totally on board for, because that gives you a lot of time to prepare yourself for the actual update instead of like, oh hey, here's the patch notes. Also, the update drops tomorrow. They did this with Battlefront, right? Like it was more than. It was like a week or two before an update dropped.
Yeah, well, I remember they would do like, there was a few updates where they would actually do multiple CTs per like update. So there'd be ones that were like 3 weeks in advance, and then 2 weeks in advance, and then 1 week in advance. And then with this game, they did the complete opposite. And it's like, the update came out 6 weeks ago. Here's the patch notes for it.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little change. I do prefer, it doesn't really bother me that much, but I do prefer getting them early just so that it kind of like hypes it a bit more. Like now that we've got this, now I'm really excited for next week, whereas the way they have been doing it, I get excited like the day that it drops, which I don't know, I just prefer having more excitement, I guess. So yeah, I'm happy with that change. Hopefully it doesn't mess anything up for them in terms of like speaking about things too soon, and then they have to remove something from an update because it's causing them issues or whatever, and then people will have a sook about it.
Yeah, but they do point that out in the patch notes too, that like, hey, things are going to change. We've had stuff in the past happen where it didn't make it to release, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's good that they touched on that at least.
Yeah, but I'm totally on board with this change, because I think it just gives everyone a lot more time to get used to the changes. It gives you more details. It makes you more excited. And then on top of that, but something else that happened since our last episode, they released a podcast. And it is with Stratford and Dorian and one other person as well. I
think it was Oliver Anderson.
Yes, Oliver Anderson. So all three of them are doing a podcast, and so far, in a graph with 2 examples, they've done weekly episodes, or will have done weekly episodes by the time this podcast this update drops, because they are releasing an episode on Monday that is going to detail all of the patch notes and break down some of the thoughts behind their decisions.
Yeah, we joked about it in DMs saying that they'll probably do one per season.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty surprised that they have. I think they mentioned. I should clarify. I listened to it, but I listened to it at 3:30 in the morning when I was doing gym. So like all of the information has left my brain. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure they said they're going to do 7 weeks in a row. And then I'm not sure what they said. Like that's kind of a weird thing to do, to just do 7 and then stop. So I could have just dreamt that, like I said.
I got about halfway through, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was early because I only listened to the first half in that session as well. But I think they mentioned, again, it could have just been a dream at this point. I think they mentioned
the delusions of 3:30 in the morning gym time.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that I reckon I just completely make up in my head at that time of day, and I'll just present it as fact to people. So
dude,
take that with a grain of salt.
Same here. I always freak out when I wake up in the morning and like a piece of something like. My wife has told me that I will wake up in the middle of the night and pick up my phone and do stuff on it, and I have no memory of this.
Yeah.
I'm always scared what Midnight Sage will do.
Yeah, I've been known to actually turn my alarm off.
Oh
without waking up. There's been a few times I have to now put. This is completely off topic.
Yeah.
I actually put my phone like away from my bed because I used to just wake up, or not actually wake up, but like subconsciously just turn my alarm off, and then I'd wake up like 3 hours later and be like, oh, my alarm didn't go off. And my girlfriend at the time was like, no, it went off and you just turned it off and went back to sleep. So yeah, we both definitely have the same weirdness at early morning.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm not the only one, because the amount of things that I'll hear, even like reading patch notes, I think I've said this on the podcast before, there'll be times when I like read it and do not take in any of the information. I'll read the entire thing at like 4 o'clock and then wake up later on and I'm like, oh, what the hell? I didn't know there was an update.
I know that for like we've talked about news dropping around Star Wars a few times, where either one or both of us have woken up in the middle of the night, looked at it, and then like woken up in the morning like, man, that was a strange dream. Turns out it was actually like a Twitter news title.
Yeah.
But hey, this one's real, and my gosh, does it have a ton, absolute crap ton, I will say, of new details and just changes. Apparently, Lassie, before he went to be a full-time video game boy, he actually got to play it before and provide feedback on it. And he says Breakaway is better than Spearhead now.
I may have to throw hands at Lassie there.
Yeah. Don't you come at my boy Spearhead.
But yeah, Spearhead is I will need that to be proven correct.
Yeah.
Spearhead is very, very good.
Exactly. And you know, Lassie he's the positive bloke that he is. I don't fully trust all of his opinions because he is so like aggressively positive.
Yeah, I have that issue too. Sometimes the new thing is always the best, and then a few months later go, maybe that was just recency bias.
Yeah, and like I'm gonna go into it heavily doubting that it is the best. So my expectations will be low, but that could help it because I loved Spearhead so much, and I have been enjoying it so much so that it's hard to think that there is a map that is better in Battlefield 2042 than Spearhead, especially a rework. I think that's the thing that makes me doubt it the most. Like if this was a new map, I would 100% believe it. Like, oh yeah, totally. The new map's better than the last one. Well, everyone has been like that so far, so
yeah, exactly.
That's just going to keep it going. But
yeah.
I like these changes because, like they point out several times in the patch notes, it is the most drastic change visually and layout-wise. They've shrunken it. They've moved things around. They've basically changed it entirely, except for the idea that it is based around Antarctica. And I'm like, okay, you might be right. Let's see here.
Yeah. I definitely think even whether it is better or not, I definitely think it will be very good just from the feedback that we've heard, the little bits here and there, and just from looking at it, you can tell like this one is drastically different. Yeah. It looks as though it is literally as many changes as every other rework combined.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been 5 maps done, or
at least 4. I think that's about right.
Yeah, and this one looks as though it has literally. It is more different than all of them. So
yeah, if you combined all of the changes of all of the other maps and put them together, this map probably still has more changes than all of those combined.
Yeah. So I'm definitely optimistic about it. I think it will be good, just because I think the oil rig was already a pretty fun area.
Yeah.
I think the little...
It looks even better now,
I
too.
don't know what you call it. Yeah, I'm not sure if they've changed stuff on there, but it definitely looks better.
They've added more cover, I believe, as well as... I think they've mostly kept it the same, but they've allowed for more cover and more routes of travel, because I think a lot of that on that top section in particular, they were just open sections because...
Yeah.
So I think it looks pretty good. Like I'm pretty hopeful for that section in particular. Like you said, it was the best part of the map. And what was weird when you think about it, it's like, man, that's the main point of the map. It's like, it's actually a really small section when you think about it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
now,
and it was like in the bottom corner.
Yeah, exactly. So far away from everything else. But now they've made it the highlight as it should have been, which I think... Yeah. It's weird that it never really was the highlight, and they're like, oh, crap, people really like this section? Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird situation, but I guess that's the one positive to doing the reworks especially after so long like this. They really have had time to see where, I'm sure they look at those heat maps and go, wow, like 90% of people go to the oil rig, let's put that in the center of the map instead of the bottom. So yeah, I'm very keen for it. I think I'm almost gonna say it already. I think it will be. I'm certain it will be the best rework.
Oh, easily.
Whether it's as good as all the new maps, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm pretty optimistic that it will at least compete with those maps anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And I think something too to think about is they are setting themselves up for. If you think about what season 4 is going to be, how can they top this? Honestly, this is an insane update or season so far. You've got one of the best maps in Battlefield 2042 that stands up to the rest of the history of Battlefield maps. You have this map rework that is changing things entirely, a better mid-season update, and a really good specialist. You have assault or the class system coming back. This, I think, is going to be the biggest update of the game, and probably, unless season 4 is just incredibly surprising, probably even more impactful than season 4 will be. And I don't think that's going to be a bad thing on season 4. I think they should try to top every season over the last one, and they've done so far. But I think it's going to be hard because once they implement these changes, a lot of the issues people have with this game will have been solved.
Really, season 4 is only going to be content, you would think. This is still fixing the game, whereas I don't think there's that much to fix after this. I really don't. I think there's
definitely the map reworks,
smaller things. Yeah, true. Those are definitely something that they need to continue fixing. But really, for me, it's just the little things like server browser and more features than the game doesn't work. I think this is now, not that the game doesn't work, but the class system is something we've all wanted. So yeah, it will be hard to top this. This feels like this will be the single best update that this game has ever or will ever get. Which it probably sounds negative saying we're going to peak with this one and then it's only going to get worse. But that's fair enough because this is a huge update. And I don't we all thought season 4 was going to be the last one. Yeah. So it's not even, there's only, I know season 5 is coming now, but we only thought there was going to be 3 updates after this one. So it's not that big of a deal, I think, if this is the peak. In terms of the update. And obviously that doesn't mean it's the peak of the game because the other updates will still make the game better anyway. We're going to get more content and stuff. So, yeah. I think this is a really good way to start the year. Last year was a very big improvement. It kind of got progressively better. And now they're coming out in 2023 with a massive bang in the first month. And, really setting the tone for the rest of the year.
Bam!
However long support goes for, So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, this season has been ridiculous. I actually forgot it's still season 3.
Yeah, right?
It's kind of weird because Spearhead and the new just like the first update, like 3.1 or 3.0, I guess it was. That was such a good update. All the new content, the new map, Zane, just everything about it felt really good. Even the battle pass, like that alone was probably better than the first 2 seasons, I think. And now this is just, it's kind of ridiculous that we're getting all of this. Even just like the Vault weapons.
Yeah.
They are speaking my language.
Yes.
The MTAR and the PP2000 are literally 2 of my all-time favorite Battlefield guns. And they're getting put both in this update. Yeah. So, oh man, I'm so keen.
I'm very excited about the whole update. Yeah. This is my theory on how they're gonna approach. This is my conspiracy theory, not necessarily conspiracy theory, but let's put our tinfoil hats on for a moment here. I think that the last 2 maps, right, that they have to change are definitely going to be the hardest to make more interesting. I think in terms of, what is the map called with the bunch of storage containers? It's in Africa, I think.
Oh, discarded.
Yeah, so...
in India. I think, is it India?
It may be. Very red, dusty planet, or not planet, but dusty country.
Star Wars fans talking about games. Look at this.
I think that one is definitely going to be easier than the freaking Qatar map, which I don't. I think they're just going to have to nuke it. Honestly, like if I was in charge of that project, I would just say nuke it. Let's start over. Let's have this as let's go back to the concept art, honestly. Like if that was my project lead, I would say, let's start back on the project. Let's go back to the concept art. Let's see where people most frequently went in terms of the heat maps on the game. Let's see what everything is looking like on the back end and just start over. Do something even more drastic.
They're going to have to do something like what they've done with Breakaway, where they move the oil rig. They're going to have to do that with like the stadium and that little village and stuff. They're going to have to it will be pretty much a new map. Like the other maps were, you look at like Kaleidoscope, that really wasn't any different. It was just it was a bit of extra cover, and like one point of interest was turned from like grass into a little military base. Like there wasn't that much done, but with Breakaway and definitely with Hourglass, it's going to essentially be a brand new map using the same assets, but like completely new layout and adding a bunch of extra areas. So I think Breakaway has shown that they can fix Hourglass, but I'm still not fully confident, not in their skills. I'm not saying like I don't think they're good enough to do it. I think that map is just so bad that like they're going to have to do something monumental to fix that. So I do hope they kind of take their time with it. I'm in no rush to get it. I hope they don't just put it out in like a month or 2 after this update. But yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see, because the kind of good thing is, it doesn't, for me personally, it doesn't even matter if they rework it and it sucks. Like it already sucks, so it doesn't negatively affect the game.
It sucks less now.
But yeah, I'm keen to see how they fix it, because if they can manage to pull that off, that is like crazy, and that's a really good sign, I think, moving forward, not just for this game but for the next Battlefield. That will make me feel as though they finally know how to make maps again, because this game and Battlefield 5 has made me think that they just don't get it. They really used to get it. All the maps in every Battlefield map from like Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 1, there's really not any bad maps. Like there's a couple that are a bit not the best, but pretty much all of those maps are playable. And then Battlefield 5 and 2042 are just like the opposite. So I think this will be that will be like a big trust earning moment for me if they can somehow fix Hourglass, because that will show me, okay, they know how to, fix these maps up. Moving forward, that's really good. For the next game, I won't be worried about the maps, because obviously all the new maps as well, they've been great. So I'm keen to see how it goes, but yeah, it's going to need a miracle, I think.
So my theory is that in Season 4, we'll probably get the discarded rework, but we won't see a glimpse of the
Hourglass.
Yeah, Hourglass. I always forget that one's name.
It's because it's pretty irrelevant.
Yeah, because I haven't played it since the game came out. Yeah, I think they're going to do Hourglass in Season 5, if not a last hurrah for the game, because I think that map just needs so much more work.
Yeah, it does feel like it, doesn't it? It feels like it needs like 6 months of just, they've kind of reworked a lot of these maps seemingly at the same time. They'll do like, for a few months there, it was like we get one per month. I don't know if they can do that with Hourglass. So, yeah. I kind of feel the same. I would say, if I had to guess, I'd say update 4.2 will be discarded and update 5.2 would be Hourglass or something like that.
Yeah. 5.5, 6. Yeah, I think that would be my... Let's look into the crystal ball and see what we find, kind of my prediction there. So I think discarded, it needs something that makes it different from the fantastic Stranded map, because I feel like Stranded is the much more accomplished younger brother to Discarded. Like, Discarded made the way for it, but the younger brother was like, oh yeah, I see all of the ways that you made poor decisions. I'm going to do all of those things the opposite.
Yeah, Discarded walked so that Stranded could run.
Exactly.
That's 100% the truth.
But like that's my theory, at least. But in terms of like this update, my gosh, did they make some good changes? Something that a friend of the podcast, Yepper, pointed out. The Plus system has a whole overhaul. And we talked about this pretty early on in this podcast and in the life cycle of Battlefield. Every time I pulled up the Plus system, instead of on console, instead of using the D-pad, they made, in my opinion, the stupid decision to gear it towards the face buttons.
Yeah, it's a weird setup, isn't it?
Every single time I went to use the Plus system, I would try to use the D-pad and be like, why is it not working? Oh, yeah, there we go. Got to use the buttons. But now they're actually changing it, so you'll hold down Y for a number of seconds, and that will pull up the Plus system, and then you'll use the D-pad to choose in the 4 different directions the options that you want to change. And then they're also putting back the grenade button to the bumper again.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit to get used to, I won't lie, but I think I like the changes.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's how it worked before Battlefield 2042. Yeah. Like, you would press the bumper and you'd throw a grenade, and I still try to do that pretty frequently. Like, that has been so ingrained in my brain that I still have that problem.
Yeah. Whenever I go and play, like, if I play Warzone for a bit and then come and play Battlefield, I do the same. I always just end up pressing the wrong button. Yep. So I think it's definitely a good change. The Plus system is... It's a good change. It's different because we haven't had that before. So, like, the grenade one makes absolute sense. Mm-hmm. The Plus system is a bit different because we've never had it before. So I got used to how it was, even though I don't think that was the most intuitive way to have it. But I do think this is better. So, and like, I remember when I first played this game, I was on PC, but I was using controller, and I literally put my controller down, went to the keyboard, and used, I think it's T, to bring up the Plus system, because I didn't even know how to use it.
Oh, yeah. Like, I had no idea, because they didn't have the prompts originally. They didn't have the prompts for the button. It was just like...
Yeah.
Figure it out, guys.
Yeah. It was pretty odd. And I think once you figured it out, it was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but I think this way makes a lot more sense. Mm-hmm. It's just the obvious choice, I guess.
Yeah. Much, much more intuitive this way, in my opinion. And then switching gears a little bit, going back to the breakaway map, these are the 5 key things that they've been changing. 1, the glacier top, which was previously a wide open expanse with a little cover to protect yourself. I love this part of it. The penguins have created an outpost settlement with buildings to battle through as you establish control of the immediate area.
I got a feeling Kevin wrote. I don't know if it sometimes says who wrote them, but I got a feeling Kevin wrote.
I mean, with that line, it had to have been Kevin, right? He definitely contributed that part.
He definitely had some influence.
Yeah, I don't see an author on this one, unfortunately, but that's got to be Kevin.
Sure,
it can't not be. But they've changed that side of things, so there's an outpost on it, which is good. The ice shelf, extensive improvements have been made to the overall ice shelf area, featuring a new flag on top of the glacier and new routes to encourage flanking between the glacier and the relocated oil rig. Oil rig has been moved, and this is, quote, one of our favorite play spaces has been relocated to the foot of the glacier, allowing for more frantic combat encounters as it's much closer to the action than before. New ways to assault the rig have been established, and new paths and cover have been included throughout the deck. This one just like straight up speaks to like Twilight on Hoth vibes, which is the snow cave, and in that snow cave is a downed NV-38 Condor, and precious resources are scattered throughout this location as your team works to secure the new capture point, there's a new capture point in that snow cave. As well as a workers' village. Military presence and fortification has increased throughout this area, and cleaner navigation and shorter distances between capture points should ensure the action remains ever flowing across the workers' village, it needed a lot of work, because I felt like it would either be you'd see no one even though everyone was there, or you would just like everyone's in this one tiny building.
Yeah. It was like one of those areas that was really hit and miss. It was like sometimes super, super fun, and sometimes it was like the worst experience ever. Mm-hmm. And it's weird to think that it's kind of hard to pinpoint what was bad about it. I still don't really know. I think it's just because there was so many buildings and little bits of cover. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I think some small changes to that will definitely be improved, because that had potential, that area. Yeah. And I'm keen to see what it's like now.
Same here. I think I'm excited for that change, and I think it's a much needed one, and it'll definitely make that area much more inviting, for sure. Yeah. And then something that I think is really cool, especially since the last update they introduced, and it's heavily featured in all manner of gameplay, which is the smoke grenade. You now have the ability, and they're adding it to the game, a thermal scope. Which I am all for.
I love it.
Dude, yes.
Yep. I'm so game for that.
I am as well. I never knew that I needed this until they added the smoke grenade. I'm like, why I didn't know they didn't have it until they added that. And I was like, oh my gosh. Especially on Spearhead, like if you're in the box and there's like 70 freaking smoke grenades everywhere, that's going to be super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it adds especially with the plus system, like this is now, it just feels like I'm just always going to have a thermal in I might not have it equipped the whole time, but I'm going to have it there. And this is where the plus system is just so great, because this is now like a genuine difference. Mm-hmm. Like the scope's obviously changing the distance helps, but it's not like a game changer.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like having a red dot and then you run into a room and there's it's completely smoked out. Mm-hmm. Chuck on your thermal scope and your gameplay is completely changed.
Yes.
I love that. I'm so keen for it. I'm literally just going to equip a thermal on every single gun.
And with the plus system, it makes it, like you said, so much easier to have that change and impactful change to how you play the game.
Yeah, because the thing with thermal scopes is they're very like niche, and a lot of the time, if they didn't have the plus system, for example, and they added these scopes into the game, I'd be sitting here thinking, okay, that's cool, but I probably won't use them because I don't want to have to always have a thermal scope. But with the way it is now, I'm really excited for the thermal scopes because I know I'm going to use them because I'm not forced to at all times. So that just makes it, it's the plus system makes adding attachments a really good thing. In a lot of other games, if they add attachments, it's like, yeah, that's cool, but it's very niche. I don't know if I'll really use it that much. So yeah, the plus system once again coming in clutch.
Yes, definitely. I'm very happy about it, and it's going to be working. It's going to work technically different than past ones where the whole view would be the thermal view, but this time it's only the view through the scope, which they're really proud of that. In this.
Yeah.
And they said they're going to take in feedback to see if this is a good decision, because while technically it is more accurate to what the real world would be, it may not be more fun this way or more useful this way. As they say, sometimes they always try to have the balancing to be more fun than actual like accuracy to the real world.
Yeah, I think it's cool though. I think I really like in this game when I think it's when you have 2 times or above, it kind of like blurs out the rest of your screen. I really like that. A lot of people understandably don't like it, but I kind of like that. Yeah, looking through your scope is actually different than the parts you can see around the scope, and I feel like that's going to play the same way with this, where it's going to just be thermal through the actual scope, but then the rest of it you can still see normally, so it kind of helps you keep that awareness, because sometimes it can be a bit like disorienting when your entire screen is thermal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be just as fun, but yeah, we're going to have to wait and see, and at least they have sort of said if it's not as good, we'll just change it back to how it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, which I'm glad that they're open to that change. It sounds really cool. I think it's going to be fun to see, and like we've been talking about, like it's going to be much better for all of us to have that option. And just like I think it's very good that we're having these kind of discussions, and I just feel like in the past few weeks the level of communication that they've had is unmatched in the series.
yeah, it's been really, really good, and just like it's not even just telling us stuff; it's telling us why. Like they're actually going through and explaining this stuff. Like we haven't really done this before. We want to bring that in because it's more realistic, and it might kind of like feel cool in the game, but it might not work. So we'll see how it goes. Like that level of, like, I guess honesty is not really common within like most. So you look at like the Call of Duty patch notes, they don't explain it. They just say the damage has gone from this to this. That's it. Like they don't actually go in depth on it. So I'm really, really enjoying that. Even the what was the thing last week? I think it was about the class system, and they sort of talked about their journey getting there and like why they changed, certain things. So I like that. I like that it's not just here's the changes. It's actually here's the changes, and we're going to break down what we're thinking about it. So hopefully they keep that up, because the issue is it's like they go through phases where there'll be really good communication for like a month, and then it disappears for 3 months kind of thing. I hope they don't stop with this stuff, but yeah, I'm a little bit worried they will. They've never had more platforms to communicate on, and previously they have used like 1% of them. Yeah.
But now they have a lot more. I think it looks like more willingness, or there's some kind of internal change where they're like, okay, we're going to prioritize one of the key things about your job is creating content and communication officially, instead of like, oh, hey, you can talk about this on your thing, but also don't get too specific, otherwise we'll beat you up kind of thing.
Yeah, because the gaming industry is very secretive for whatever reason, and I personally don't think it needs to be. It's easy to say when I don't work in it, but no other... Well, I shouldn't say no other, because say like with movies, obviously they're pretty secretive too, but that's more for like spoiler reasons. There's nothing getting spoiled if they go in depth in a video game. So I don't get why they need to be so secretive, and this is kind of proof that I think everyone likes when they aren't so secretive, because we're all interested. We all like the little, sneak peeks at why changes happen and why this and that, can't happen, whatever the case may be. So hopefully they just keep it up, because there is no reason for them to be so secretive, I don't think. As long as you are legally able to say this or that is coming to the game, then why can you also not expand on not just why it's coming, like when it's coming to the game, but why you've made those changes and stuff. I don't see any reason they can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, it adds more stuff for all of us fans, but it's not going to change drastically how we approach the game, except it'll make us appreciate it more. And I think that's what is most exciting about it. Like, I love just that they talked about, this is why we did this, instead of like, we did this. It's like, no, here's our thought process. This is why we made that decision. Because that tells you understand, one, what you're doing, and two, your player base. Like, if you make a decision on like, oh, I'm going to change the color from blue to red. Well, why? You have to have a reason for it. You can't just be like, well, I just cuss. Like, if it looks better, improves readability, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's when the disconnect, I think, comes from studios to the fans, is that they just say, we're changing this, and then everyone's like, why? And then they don't answer, and then there's a bit of like tension there. And when they just explain it, even if you still don't agree with it, the information's there. And if they explain exactly why they're doing something and you don't like it, you kind of just have to accept it. Like, if they say something in this that I don't agree with, that is kind of then just on me. It's like, well, now I'm just being the one who's disagreeing. They've explained exactly why they're changing it. And unless what they said is just like stupid, then maybe I'll still feel the same way. But it feels like they're explaining everything very well, to the point where I'm like, well, maybe I don't like it, but
I can see your thought process.
Yeah, exactly. I think it just builds I don't know, like a rapport between the studio and the fans. It just releases all that tension, and it's definitely, with this franchise, that's what we need, I think.
Yeah.
So let's just hope they keep it up.
It's so weird how communication actually helps dissolve issues. That's so
it's
strange,
crazy,
man.
It's almost like we've been saying that since launch or something. Like, man.
Yeah. So, as someone who is not as well versed in the history of the Battlefield franchise as you, what's up with these new weapons that are coming to the game in terms of from Portal? You seem pretty pumped.
So it's mostly just personal preference. They're not special, really, but the MTAR and the PP2000, they were both, I believe, both in 3 and 4. I know for a fact they were both in Battlefield 4. And they are just so much fun. They're just fun weapons. They're pretty stock standard. They're nothing like crazy, but I don't know. The MTAR was always one of my favorites. It's a cool looking gun. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like the AUG. Which is always one of my favorites. And then the PP2000 is just like super small and compact, and it has, I think it actually says there, it's got a 40 round mag. I was going to say it's got a bigger magazine than most SMGs. And I don't know, it's just, they're both very, very fun weapons. They've been like fan favorites in both of those games. And so, to be completely honest, they were probably both in Bad Company 2 as well. I can't really remember that far back, but yeah, they're just kind of fan favorites, and at least for me personally, they're pretty much, I would say, both in my top 5, maybe, at least definitely top 10 favorite Battlefield guns ever. So when I saw the MTAR, that alone, I was like, oh my god, that's my baby. It's coming back. And then the PP2000 as well. Yeah, I'm very keen. And even the M39, I nearly called it the EBR. I think it's the EMR in this. There must be different variants of it. That's also pretty fun. It's kind of just like it's kind of like the DM7. It's a pretty similar weapon to that. So not necessarily my style, but it's a pretty fun weapon too.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. I've been trying to get more into doing things specifically to unlock weapons, because for so long I've just been like, oh, hey, I'm just going to shoot this and I'm going to do this. And it's like, no, now I'm going to actually, okay, what does it look like? What do I need to do to unlock all these specific weapons and all that kind of stuff? So I'm excited to get more into that side of things, and these weapons do look pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy them both. They're, obviously provided the balance is right and everything.
Yeah.
If they play anything like they did in the previous games, I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with
Visually, the MTAR looks freaking sweet too.
Yeah, it's just a cool looking gun. It always has looked a bit futuristic
Yeah.
to me. And I think now that we're in a game that is a bit futuristic, it just fits. Like, it just, I don't know. I'm very keen for it.
And then finally, something I think that's pretty sweet with this update is they're doing something for longtime Battlefield players or people that bought the Legendary or Gold or Xbox Game Pass Ultimate users. They're going back and giving us some of the cosmetics and stuff from Tier 0 and rewards for Season 1 and Season 2. So we're getting the All-Seeing Eyes Legendary Specialist set for Angel, the Lightbringer Legendary Weapon Skin for the AC-42. Pumped about that. The Ghost Assassin player card background, the Omniscient player card tag, which is pretty, I think that's the one I've got already, as well as the Undeniable Legendary Specialist set for Boris, the Red Eye Legendary Weapon Skin for the DXR1, the Mountain King player card background, and the Wolverine player card tag. It's not like huge, but it's pretty sweet. And another thing that they're changing for owners of the versions listed above will also receive the Specialist Liz and Crawford immediately upon login. So instead of specifically having to unlock them, apparently, you'll get them right away.
Yeah, big fan of that, because there probably will be a lot of people that, you know, have not really played in a long time. They missed even if they had the battle passes, like from the, you know, Ultimate Edition, they may not have played during those seasons because obviously the game is still not where it is now. So I think that's a good little change to sort of, help ease people back in, and it's like a little reward for coming back. Like, you get to...
Yeah, it's like a little loyalty kind of thing of like, hey, thanks for sticking with us, or hey, if you're coming back to the game, boom, we got something nice for you.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
It's good. I think overall, like, I'm so pumped for this update, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it next week. And I'm interested to see what all of our listeners have to say about it too. Like, I think, man, there's a bunch in this, and I don't think we're really gonna realize it until we get our hands on it. Like, oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah, because even the stuff we've just gone through, that's like the big things, but there's like, obviously you've got the patch notes there too. If you scroll down, there's just like, we're at where we just read up to. We are about a third of the way down the page. It's
massive.
So like, there's so many changes. So I feel like the game will feel a lot better too. Probably a lot of balancing changes and stuff. To be honest, I'm not even going to read all of that because there's just so much.
I tried this morning. I was like, all of this information is going into my eyeballs and right out of my ears.
Yeah. So I feel like on top of all the really good like changes and additions, I feel like the game is just going to play better too. So I think, I'm very, very keen for this update. I think it's going to be pretty much the best we've gotten so far.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But hey, let us know your thoughts on the changes that are being made to the game and your thoughts as well. Join the Discord, reach out on Twitter, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. Check out Sammy Boy's channel, our Uplink podcast as well, all the content that we're putting up there. And hey, thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. We'd like to thank Ethan Clark for the beautiful thumbnail, all of you for listening, and we'll see you on the battlefield.